the sky to the ground. So you get your makeup on, ready to go out. You told me you've been away, but I don't mind. And so I hope you'll find a key to know the light of this world, from the sky to the ground. Know the light in this dark world, from the sky to the ground. Know the light in this world, from the sky to the ground. Know the light in this dark world, from the sky to the ground, babe.
Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Oh. Get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Oh, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Oh.
Ginny sembra un angelo
Versus sharply focused. Why? And I know on the face.
della sera. Vedo grandi cose oltre la pioggia scura. Chi conosce Broadway, la vita che c'è sotto, dietro ogni viso teso, le storie d'ogni giorno. E per lei che il suo mondo con lei fino in fondo e salirà su nel cielo sempre con lei. La pioggia cade su New York City, scende fin dentro il cuore, mi lava l'anima. Ora li vedo andare via, ora li vedo andare su, guardali insieme che volano via. E per lei che il suo mondo, sì con lei fino in fondo salirà su nel cielo sempre con lei. Sempre con lei, sempre con lei, sempre con lei. Io vivo tra di loro, sì, vivo tra di loro, le anime sudate, le nostre anime sudate, vampate di calore, tra fiamme colorate, accendono la vita delle anime sudate, le 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 nostre anime sudate, le anime sudate, le nostre anime sudate.
Love is a madness, is a long road of crazy life. She always say to me, don't worry baby, it's just a passing cloud. But when she's not here, I'm silent and sit with fear. Ooh, babe, don't leave me.
Hello, Emilio.
Hello, Jeppy.
Welcome to the Dermoscopy Excellence.
Digital training.
Let's start from the clinical.
Are you ready for the scalp? Some data highlighting a significantly worse survival for acral melanoma.
Here, again, you make the diagnosis because of the arborizing vessels, sharply in focus. So, this is our destiny, my friends. If someone is connecting right now,
Yes.
then they are saying, okay, let's stop seeing this stupid course.
But then, if you look at the tables and you see the reason why.
Melanoma on the face is a lazy guy.
Morphologically, dermatoscopically.
Bravo, my president. Eh?
Ragazzi,
Hey,
ragazzi, are you there?
guys. Hi, guys.
Nisa,
Hi, guys.
Nisa, how are you?
The happy hour is not so
Um,
happy today.
Yeah, I am not so happy, and we are very sorry for the earthquake disaster in our country. And the earthquake was really, really very strong, that almost whole area is collapsed, and more than up to now 30,000 people died, but I think the number will exceed 50,000. Because the rescue teams was trying to not harm the destroyed area for the other people who may be under the rubbles. But from now on, I think because almost 1 week have passed, and there is a little possibility to find living people under the rubbles. But we are so grateful to the rescue teams and the aid campaigns from many parts of the world. And may our lost rest in peace. And I wish my country recovers soon.
Yeah. But it's incredible that when we started the conversation, Nisa, exactly the day of the earthquake, you said there will be something like 50,000 people dying, and it's in fact more or less the correct number from the beginning.
Yeah, because almost 6,500 building is collapsed, and they're all apartments, not buildings, flat buildings. And when we count in every house, apartment, 15 people died, I think it exceeds more than 100,000. So I hope it will not reach that number, but I'm afraid for that.
Yeah. It's, I mean, come on, it's one of these moments that there are not words enough to describe the feelings and, I mean, the shock that, I mean, beyond our powers, of course, beyond the human powers. Whatever, what we can do is to send our, emotional, at least, support.
Thank
and
you for
also
your support.
the good thing is that, thank you. The nations are trying to help, and organizations are trying to help as much as possible. So everything that can be done from a human perspective should be done by all means.
And we also appreciate the Greece rescue teams. You were all the time with us, and thank you for your support, Emilios and Geppi, also for the Italian teams.
Yeah.
We appreciate.
I know the point is that our countries are blessed on the one side, but on the other side, unlucky to live in a geographical part where these disasters are not rare. So we, unfortunately, frequently we have to do with events like this one.
Va bene.
Anyhow.
So we try to keep going with our usual happy feeling, happy mood to share experiences in our daily life with skin cancer.
A lot of messages, of course, in the chat, as you can see, Nisa, from nice words from people from all over the world. But
thank you so much.
Let's try to do the episode of the happy hour, which is obviously less happy today, but still it is what it is. So the topic, by the way, of the episode, in my view, is very interesting. Hope we will enjoy it and come up with some useful messages for everybody. So let's start, Sebastiano, with what we have to do.
Yes, with the question of the week, which is quite a nice question, right? Which is the coolest NEVUS in your view? This plastic, Spitz, blue, congenital. Which one is the coolest?
I'm very biased.
The more, let's say, the more funny, the more interesting, the more Spitz.
I agree with the public.
Yeah, the winner is always Spitz, right? Because he's the crazy one, right?
It is schizophrenic.
Schizophrenia.
Yeah, he's the crazy one.
Yeah.
But we will try to convince you today that the coolest NEVUS is congenital NEVUS. Can you imagine? The more, let's say, abandoned, the more
overlooked.
Yeah, because this plastic sometimes is also quite cool, right? Blue nevi are also quite cool, right? Because they
are, as you say, blue are aristocratic.
Really? Where do you say that?
Yes, because we say blue blood for an aristocratic guy, and therefore blue nevi are very aristocratic and stable people. They don't care about anything. Just they live their life in peace. Congenital nevi, they are nice. So Emilio,
but they are a little bit. They're not so nice in my view. They're a little bit nasty, a little bit,
Yeah.
As we will show in a moment. So let's see.
Let's see. Yes, the paper of the week. We didn't say hello to Sebbi. Ciao, Sebbi.
Sebbi.
Ciao, Sebbi. Bye, bye. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Bashi, bashi. Allora, Emilio, what is the paper of the week?
The paper of the week, as soon as Sebi will allow me to share my screen, I will show you the paper of the week today that comes from a journal, from the best journal in the field of medicine.
Okay.
So, you know that
And not only.
number 2 is New England Journal of Medicine, but today we will number 1, not number 2.
Number 1 is
Number 1 is
it?
other one, but yeah, before this, one more time, I mean, I started my presentation with this, but we already did our comments. So the paper of the week comes from the better than New England Journal of Medicine, which is, of course, DPC. And by the way, you can see that I corrected the motto according to a suggestion by one of the participants a couple of weeks ago. So unrestricted access to knowledge. Yeah?
Very good motto. Very good.
It's a good motto. Maybe it will survive. Maybe it will survive. So this is the paper. We will present our paper today, but it's from time to time it's not too bad, I would say. So based on JP's main idea to discuss a little bit more about the biological significance of congenital NEVI. So stepwise, five points that will lead us to the conclusion. And of course, everything is very well described in the paper. And since the paper is free to access, you can read it anytime you like. So congenital NEVI in general are of 2 categories, blue and non-blue. Blue NEVI, the blue category includes, of course, blue NEVI and the other very well-known dermal melanocytosis like NEVUS of Ota, Ito, and so on, and Mongolian spot and so on. And then we come to the main group, let's say, which are the non-blue congenital NEVI that we know pretty well. Congenital NEVI are known to carry a risk for melanoma developing inside the nevus. Of course, it's not easy to have a precise calculation of the risk, but according to meta-analysis that have been conducted in the past, it appears that this risk, if we want to quantify it, it is something like 1%, 0.7%, but this is an overall estimation concerning congenital NEVI. And obviously, this 1% is not equally distributed to all congenital NEVI, but it depends on some factors. Above all, it depends, as everybody knows, on the size of the nevus. It's clear that that the size is important, that the larger the nevus, the highest the risk for melanoma. We all know the traditional classification, which maybe is also the most practical in 3 only categories, small, medium, and large. There are alternative suggestions that we could subdivide the large category into large and giant. So this is a modified, let's say, classification, but doesn't change too much in my view. Small, medium, and large or giant is fine. It's clear that the risk is larger as we move from small to medium and then to large and giant. According to the available evidence, which was nicely summarized in this meta-analysis, it appears that for large and giant congenital NEVI, the risk could be equal to 5, 6, 7, or even up to 10%, the risk of melanoma in a giant or large congenital nevus, while for small and medium, it's, of course, extremely difficult to calculate because the incidence is unknown practically. But let's say that the risk is definitely less than 1%. So it's a risk that exists, but still remains quite low. An important thing to remember, this was discussed in the paper, is that the risk does, of course, depend on the size, but not only on the size. Another parameter that influences the risk of melanoma, and today we know it pretty well thanks mainly to the work of the group of Veronica Kinsler, and not only, but mainly to their work, is that the number of congenital NEVI is also very important. So you see here that in case of a single congenital nevus of any size, even giant, the number of melanomas was 0 in this particular cohort. So the risk is high when the total number of nevi is high. And of course, in case we have many congenital nevi plus one giant, then the risk is even higher. So the size matters, but also the number of nevi matters, and also the abnormal findings in the magnetic resonance of the central nervous system is also an important risk factor for development of melanoma, especially when melanoma develops in the central nervous system, the so-called neurocutaneous melanosis. So definitely this is the very high-risk group, high-risk phenotype, for sure. A giant congenital nevus with many additional smaller nevi. And here, of course, dermoscopy is not so important. We know the patterns, globular pattern mainly, but also reticular and also combined sometimes. And these giant nevi are definitely present at birth. I mean, literally present. I mean, they're visible at birth. So are medium-sized congenital nevi. They are also visible at birth. And again, the pattern is usually globular, but also reticular might be seen in these medium-sized congenital nevi. The most interesting category, and the paper analyzes quite a lot, are the small congenital nevi, which might not be present at the moment of the birth of the child, but appear a little bit later, and there are several lines of evidence suggesting that these nevi that appear in the first, second, or even third and fourth year of life are in fact small congenital nevi that maybe were not clearly visible at birth. And these small congenital nevi again are usually globular, as you can see in this panel. And these congenital nevi are at the beginning flat or slightly elevated, and probably later they become a little bit more elevated, more raised. They practically look very, very similar to the dermal nevi that we all know. So there is also the theory that dermal nevi might be in fact congenitally, genetically determined anyhow. So something very similar to the congenital nevi. The most interesting part comes now. The most interesting part is that according to data from real life, and this is from JEPI's department, from JEPI's database of many, many years, although the risk, as we said, is higher for giant nevi, in real life, in their experience, for example, they found 27 melanomas in congenital nevi throughout the years, and of them, only one was in large congenital nevi. The other 26 were in small or medium congenital nevi. Of course, how can this be explained? How can this controversy be explained? So 10% risk accounting for only 3% of melanomas. That can be explained obviously by the fact that large and giant congenital nevi are very rare, 1 out of 20,000 births, while small and medium congenital nevi are much more frequent as compared to giant. That's the explanation. So practically, in one's career, if you are a clinician in your career, if you are, if there is a chance that you will find a melanoma in a congenital nevus, most probably it will be a melanoma developing in one of these two categories, small or medium congenital nevi. And the paper concludes that small congenital nevi, although traditionally considered as irrelevant, not requiring any special attention, in fact, because of their frequency, they might be the most frequent melanoma precursors in terms of absolute number. Of course, this does not mean that the risk of melanoma is high, but the majority of nevi on which melanoma develops possibly belongs to the category of small congenital nevi. The paper ends here, but I will add for 1 minute 2 additional things. That today we have also some some clues on how to diagnose melanoma developing inside a smaller or medium congenital nevus. Practically, there are two important clues. One is the negative network, inverse network, that you can see in these examples. And the second are these gray polygonal lines that you can see in all these 6 examples of melanomas developing inside small congenital nevi. In the end, and this opens, of course, the discussion, in the light of all this stuff, what can we say about management? I would conclude and leave, of course, some question marks for the discussion that for giant congenital nevi, there is an indication for magnetic resonance in the first year of life, especially when we have multiple nevi and not only the one giant. Of course, we need to follow up, but dermoscopy doesn't make so much sense. Clinical photography and palpation are the things that we should do. And concerning the question about sequential partial excisions, here there are a lot of question marks because evidence does not suggest any benefit for these surgical procedures. And I don't mean only no benefit in terms of prognosis, but also no benefit in terms of the psychological impact on the mental health of children. Finally, for intermediate size congenital nevi, of course, again, annual follow-up, but this time with dermoscopy, because dermoscopy here will help us a lot if a melanoma develops. And again, question marks, open discussion about the option to excise a medium and intermediate size congenital nevus in order to combine two things. First, to reduce the risk of to eliminate the risk of a melanoma developing inside the nevus, and also, of course, for the cosmetic outcome that anyhow also medium congenital nevi do have. So that was it.
So maybe just before starting the discussion and answering the questions, I will add only a couple of things which could be also useful for the discussion, because definitely, Emilio, you covered basically everything. So I don't need to, let's say, to take too much time. Just give me a minute that I find my presentation. And just a couple of things that I wanted to add to your points. Clearly, you said, okay, you commented why we think congenital nevi are interesting. I would only, let's say, in some way add that, as you said, all large and medium-sized congenital nevi appear at the birth, okay? But many, really many, if not all small congenital nevi appear later in the first decade of life. And this is definitely, seen in this image, in which, you see this lesion number, lesion B was the only lesion present at birth, and all the rest appeared in the first 3, 4, 5 years of life of this girl. But definitely they belong to the same spectrum, the same category, the same family of nevi, because they look the same. They are all globular. And therefore, definitely, we should include congenital nevi, small congenital nevi, in the category of congenital nevi, also those appearing in the first decade of life. It means that the number of congenital nevi or congenital-like nevi are incredible. So many nevi we have are of the congenital type. And I would also I like also to add this point that you mentioned, since most congenital nevi, especially of the small size congenital small size type, they do like this. They start flat and globular, but then they become Where is it? It doesn't show up. Then they become elevated, and then finally they look like dermal nevi. So in my view, it's very reasonable to think that the greatest majority of dermal nevi are belonging to the family of small congenital nevi. Okay, and this is explaining why, in my view, if there is a precursor lesion of melanoma, this is small congenital nevus. Look at this melanoma appearing on a in the closest vicinity to a banal looking dermal nevus. There must be a connection. Okay, so it's not only a chance phenomenon. Okay, so what I want to say is that we have to really to try to accept the concept that the largest majority of dermal nevi are belonging to the family of congenital nevi. And then you said also something about magnetic resonance, and I would like also only to add. You said question mark on what to do with intermediate size congenital nevi. Well, we said that the risk is about 0.5%, which is very low, but still it's not comparable to the risk of small nevi or acquired nevi, in which the risk is 1 out of 200,000. So in this case, one case out of 200 is not so small. And therefore, why not considering, of course, case by case, but considering seriously to suggest to the patient to excise an intermediate size congenital nevus. Concerning small, okay, here you can see an example of an intermediate size congenital nevus and a melanoma of 2 millimeter thickness appearing in the left upside of the lesion. So in my view, we should really consider the excision of intermediate size congenital nevi, while of course for small congenital nevi, even though we know that in the greatest majority of cases, if we see a melanoma rising in a congenital nevus, this will be a small congenital nevus. Of course, the number of small congenital nevi is so high that we can only say to the patient, come back for follow-up, and we just, monitor this kind of lesions. But I suppose that we have quite a number of questions, right?
Many. Of course, some were covered, and I will start from those that you already almost mentioned the answer. So one question is, do you recommend excision of small and large congenital nevi in children before it's growing? What do you think of treating large congenital nevi with laser? So no, we don't recommend excision of small because it's impossible practically, and it would result in thousands of unnecessary excisions. Concerning large, also there is not a clear recommendation for excision because it does not reduce the melanoma risk, because in large nevi, melanoma develops usually in the deep dermis, and therefore the excision of the nevus does not reduce the risk of melanoma. So that decision should be made with other, thoughts about the cosmetic outcome, but also there it appears that the cosmetic outcome is not so good. For intermediate size,
yes. Let's add something concerning giant, large congenital nevi. There is no possibility to prevent melanoma by excising them. We can only try to reduce the quality of to improve the quality of life of our patients by reducing the size of the nevus surgically. 20 years ago, it was suggested to treat very early in life this large congenital nevi with dermabrasion. You remember? But this, of course, this concept was over time, let's say, was abandoned because the result, also the cosmetic outcome of this treatment is horrible. Therefore, nobody is suggesting anymore treating giant congenital nevi with laser, with dermabrasion, and so on. So if we like to reduce the size of the congenital nevus for cosmetic reasons, we only have to use surgery, the traditional.
Yeah. Although also surgery was in a large study that Veronica Kitzer did. I mean, it was shown that the final outcome was not really did not have really a positive impact in the
in large numbers is true, but of course case by case be beneficial, in some way. For example, reducing the appearance of a large congenital nevus on the face, it's obviously helpful for the patient.
So for intermediate size, maybe is the only category for which surgery is reasonable, combining both the cosmetic benefit and also that in an intermediate size congenital nevi, we can suppose that by removing it, we eliminate the melanoma risk, because in intermediate size congenital nevi, melanoma develops at the junction. Therefore, theoretically, when you remove it, you might prevent this rare event.
There is a question: at what age is okay to excise medium congenital nevi? In my view, when it's feasible by local anesthesia, So it doesn't. It's of course it's completely logical to think to remove it when the baby is 5 and you need general anesthesia. So it's nice to wait a little bit until it's removable by local anesthesia.
I usually wait until they're 18 so that they can decide for their own.
Yes, exactly.
We have been told to palpate large congenital nevi because malignant change is often dermal. Correct, Gary, that's absolutely correct. In large and giant congenital nevi, malignant change is dermal, deep. What is the risk from a Becker nevus? 0. The size of congenital nevus depends on the child's age. 2 centimeters is not the size. Correct. Yeah, there are 2 questions about this. So the size does not refer to the size at the moment of the birth, but to the projection of the size of the nevus in adulthood. That's correct. Do you suggest any special screening for children with medium-sized congenital nevi located on the scalp? So MRI, a magnetic resonance.
We have to underline the point that MRI is only indicated in the first, let's say, 2 years of life, but best in the first 6 months of life. So after that age, it's not reasonable to indicate it anymore.
Yeah, and the question says, for medium-sized congenital nevi, would you say that there is a need for MRI? Well, the data we have is that, first of all, the number is important. So when you have many congenital nevi, there is an indication for MRI. And of course, especially when among these many congenital nevi, there is one giant.
Yeah.
I think that the main question was if it's located on the scalp. So medium-sized located on the scalp, would that change your management?
No. Of course, the scalp is a special area, which was in the past considered a predictor for congenital nevi localized in the brain. But no, if it's only one intermediate-sized congenital nevus on the scalp, in my view, we can avoid it. There is also an interesting question here. Considering dermal nevi as congenital, what about melanoma developing risk of the dermal restant part after shaving? Well, no problem, because the risk anyhow is so low that, I mean, we really should not consider it. And of course, theoretically, by removing a dermal nevus by shaving, we don't reduce the risk that this particular nevus is developing melanoma. But the risk of this single dermal nevus to develop melanoma is much less than to do a crash with the airplane. So it's, you know what I mean? So we should not consider it, you know.
There's a really nice question. Why do you need MRI in the first year, taking the risk of sedation in small babies? What's the justification?
This is a very good question, because the point is we need MRI to diagnose neurocutaneous melanosis, which means a syndrome which is typified by nevi on the skin and nevi in the brain. Okay, in severe cases, neurocutaneous melanosis can be lethal. Okay, so doing MRI is giving us the possibility to know if this baby has or not a neurocutaneous melanosis. By the way, the problem is that no treatment can be done to prevent the lethal consequences of neurocutaneous melanosis. You know what I mean?
This is what I was going to say. Like, yes, we do the MRI. We don't change the outcome. We just know in advance.
Yeah.
Say a word also about nevus pilus. There are a couple of questions. Is there
Nevus pilus is just a variation of a superficial type congenital nevus. So it's carrying the same risk as the rest of superficial congenital nevi, meaning related to the size of the nevus pilus.
Wonderful. Excision, we spoke about it. Nevus pilus, we spoke about it. I had two patients with cutis verticis girata-like changes in congenital nevi involving the scalp. Is it common? Well, common. Yeah, I mean, it can occur. Yeah. Any specific recommendations? I don't think so. So I don't think that it changes what we already said about the management.
Just a special morphology of the nevus. That's
what about traumas of nevi? Can traumas be the reason of melanoma development? According to our knowledge, no. This is not the case. We know that congenital nevi are the result of a somatic mutation of a melanocytic precursor. Is it right to say that the timing of this mutation is responsible for the size of the lesion? The earlier the mutation, the larger the lesion. I don't fully get this. This is an embryologic point that Alberto makes, and I'm not sure that I fully understand this. I don't know if anybody can get
we
this.
know the congenital nevi are a result of somatic mutation of a is it right to say that the timing of this mutation, the number of cells is responsible of the size of the lesion? The earlier the mutation, the larger the lesion? Yes, I think so. I think so. So the size of the congenital nevus depends on when let's say the mutational event was starting, and yes, so there is a correlation. Yeah. Caufeo carry risk of melanoma? No.
Stephen says that Cliff once told me that he finds melanomas arising from congenital nevi on the scalp under a good head of hair, suggesting maybe sun isn't the cause. For sure, sun is not the cause of nevus-associated melanoma. That's clear. Also, the genetical background of nevus-associated melanoma is completely different. There is no signature of ultraviolet radiation.
The sun is the etiologic factor of melanoma de novo, but a special type of melanoma de novo. Even not nodular melanoma de novo is not connected to the sun.
Lentigo maligna is connected to the sun.
Yes.
Also superficial spreading.
Many superficial melanomas.
A very clinically relevant question for which, unfortunately, we don't have the answer is how can we differentiate benign proliferative nodules from melanoma? This is the one that finds this answer will be a superstar. We didn't for the moment, and with the exception, of course, of reasonable things that obviously when you see many proliferative nodules, this is a positive sign, while when you have only one nodular area, this is rather suspicious. But there are no reliable clues to discriminate a benign proliferative nodule from melanoma
The only
And
thing that
there is also another nice question. Are there racial differences in risk of melanoma in congenital nevi? Caucasians versus non-Caucasians? This is a very good question. Let's say, logically speaking, I would say no. There is no differences. But yeah,
I don't know.
I also don't know
about it.
Yeah, I also don't know the answer. Nisa, do you? No. Okay.
I don't have also.
Is it common in Turkey? There is a question about Turkey. Is it common in Turkey to have melanoma developing from a congenital nevus?
No, it's same, I think, everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I would say that theoretically there is no differences in terms of races, but we have to look at it.
Guys, we were very effective.
It's time.
Sebi, case of the week was already shown, but it's okay, no problem. Now Jeppy has to show us something else. Please go on, Jeppy.
Yes, just very shortly, I will present you just as I did already a few episodes ago about the new system that Eine developed. You know that Eine was the inventor of the first dermatoscope, the handheld dermatoscope in the early 90s. And over time, they developed beautiful instruments which are sitting on our desks already until now, still now. And now they have developed a system to categorize and to make a database of your images. So you can use a cloud system connected to Eine, which is called Eine Derm Manager. So you just have your own handheld dermatoscope connected to your telephone to take a picture, and then you send the images to the cloud, and then you have a database in which you can fill the details concerning the patient. And this is a beautiful way to manage your database of patients with pigmented lesions, which you are eventually monitoring over time. Allora, Emilio, I think it's time for what?
Sebastiano will tell us.
Sebastiano, tell us. Facebook.
Nisa or dear?
Nisa.
Okay. Now,
But guys,
I'm gonna share.
as you can understand, without Sebi, we don't know what to do. We're with each other. Like Sebi.
Okay. Can you see
Yes.
the slide? Okay. So I shared this case 5 years ago, and it's a very interesting case. And maybe we can discuss this case because he's 12 years old male. He had an injury from the abdominal region, and during exploration by abdominal ultrasonography and abdominal CT, multiple metastatic liver lesions were detected incidentally. And biopsy from the liver showed metastatic melanoma. And the case is only 12 years old. And oncology department asked us to find the primary of this melanoma. And we looked all over the body, hand, neck, soul. There was nothing. And whenever I want to see the scalp, there was hair here, and the patient didn't tell me that there's a melanocytic lesions on the scalp. I saw these nodular lesions. And this is a congenital nevus. And if it is on the scalp bigger than 9 centimeters, it's a large congenital nevus, not medium size. So we accept this as a large congenital nevus. And you can see here cutis vertices, girato-like changes, nodular projections. And when I look at with my dermatoscope, before maybe I'm going to show you the dermatoscopic images. There was nothing suspicious. Blue, black structureless areas and some reticular lines. There was no suspicious area. And when I touched, of course, there was some nodular lesions. So I cannot decide. We took 3 biopsies from different areas, and all were congenital nevus. And here is the cranial MR scanning. You can see a metastatic lesion here also. And the bone has osteolytic area here. It invades the bone as well. And then PET-CT showed multiple metastases involving pelvic bone, vertebrae, multiple lung and liver metastases. And the patient was given PD-1 inhibitor therapy. So here the question is, what is the origin of this melanoma metastasis? Congenital nevus or neurocutaneous melanosis? However, the patient, there was no clinical signs of neurocutaneous melanosis previously. So this is a debate, I think. We cannot decide this. So what's your opinion with this case?
Nisa, so basically you took a couple of biopsies, including these big nodules that we saw in the clinical picture, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
And there was no melanoma.
Yeah, exactly. And biopsy was taken by our plastic surgery department, and they made big biopsies. And there was no melanoma in that biopsies. And plastic surgery refused total excision because the patient has multiple metastases. No use. It's useless. So, and it should be very complicated. So we don't know the origin of this melanoma. It's congenital nevus or a pre-existing neurocutaneous melanosis, and the patient is 12 years old, so a very unlucky patient.
And what was the destiny of the patient, Nisa?
Unfortunately, I don't know, JP, because the therapy was started, but the patient didn't come to the controls. Probably he died.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't know what kind of data exists about the response of patients with metastatic melanoma from congenital nevi to immunotherapy, because to BRAF inhibition there is no chance, because these are BRAF negative melanomas.
Yeah, but he was BRAF negative.
Of course, he was BRAF negative, yeah. But to immunotherapy, I'm not aware of data. I don't know if anybody is aware of data on how these melanomas respond to immunotherapy.
No idea.
Of course, we can no way predict the origin. I mean, here we are speaking about a significant burden of nevus cells distributed everywhere, with a significant burden of mutations. Therefore, which cell was, acquiring also the last mutations needed to become malignant cannot be predicted in any way.
This is a sad case. Yeah.
If you want, this very easy case.
Okay.
But no one could get it. And here is my case. And I asked this case recently. It's on the chest. And here is the polarized and non-polarized images. So what's your diagnosis here?
How old is the patient?
50 or 60.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Of course, if nobody got it, it means that it's not a melanoma.
It's not a melanoma. It's not a melanoma.
And of course, it's not a seborrheic keratosis, which are the two possibilities coming to my mind.
Well,
so what do you say, Jeff? A, B, C, D, which one?
Well, maybe melanoma with colliding with a SEPK.
And Emilio?
Yes, melanoma, I would say. Now, I'm not sure if it's colliding with a SEPK or a NEVUS.
And Konstantinos?
Well, since nobody got it, I will go for the least possible. It's a NEVUS. Who knows?
Or a BCC colliding with a SEPK. Yeah.
And here are the answers. And the left part is the answers of the Instagram, and the right part is Facebook. You see the rates here. And here is histopathology. It's a BCC and SEPK collision. You can see a SEPK part here and all BCC.
Wow, very heavily pigmented BCC.
Did we
Yeah.
organize an episode
Really?
on collision tumors? I don't remember.
We did it, yeah.
We did it, yeah. Okay.
But let me tell
And
you, this is an image with polarized light, and this is the image with non-polarized on the right.
Okay.
yeah. And I mean, this part is, I think, probably the SEPK part. You can see the curved line. And here, especially in the non-polarized part, there are some white clots here. So this part is SEPK, and this part is whole basal cell carcinoma.
Yeah.
It really mimics melanoma.
We know very well that sometimes BCC is a strong mimicker of melanoma, and also the opposite. Sometimes melanoma is also mimicking BCC. So
which is worse?
Which is much worse, of course.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Allora,
Sebastiano.
Sebino. Dermoscopy. We should not say anymore what it is, because I mean everybody knows it.
Indeed, everybody knows dermoscopy. Just a case, because of what we were discussing, I saw this patient this week, congenital nevus that has been tried to be removed with laser, of course, without any success.
Yeah.
There is a question, by the way.
We can make this point. Why laser is usually not able to remove completely a congenital nevus? It's because even though these are called superficial congenital nevi, they go very deep, especially along the follicles. Okay, and therefore it's extremely difficult to get into the deepness and to remove everything.
Yeah, however, is frequently asked from the patients is a removal of the hairs on the surface of the congenital nevus, because sometimes the hairs are very, very, very intense.
You can cut them. Yeah.
Yes, but I mean, theoretically, you can also remove them with laser.
Well, but with laser, the problem is that probably the laser can be catched by the pigmentation around, no?
Of course it will, not probably, it will for sure.
Yeah.
The thing is that afterwards it will most likely look ugly. And I don't know, I wouldn't suggest it, just because being afraid of melanoma development, it may alter my view of it.
Yeah, practically we have to admit that there is no data to answer the question. Of course, there is also no data suggesting that a laser could induce any harm. An alexandrite laser for hair removal, I mean, probably it would not induce any harm, but I mean, we have no evidence to answer the question with a scientific background.
So, dermoscopy. Everybody knows what it is. You can train. There are so many levels. In interesting cases selected by Jeppy, Emilios, myself, Cristiana Varete. And you can play live, where you can upload your case and get feedback live from all the community of dermoscopy. And I have 3 cases prepared. So one is a 46-year-old male with this lesion that you can see here, which arose 2 to 3 weeks ago, growing rapidly. Patient has Muir-Torres syndrome. And this is the clinical.
Okay, then it's a sebaceous carcinoma.
Then it's easy.
Keratocantoma.
And this
most
is the
probably.
I'm sorry. If you can remove the poll for a second, because I don't know if people had the time to see the lesion. So this is the dermoscopy.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yes, let's see what people think.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeppy, what do you say?
Well, if it's known that he has a Muir-Torre syndrome, then this is a sebaceous adenoma or sebaceoma or sebaceous carcinoma. These are the three tumors connected to Muir-Torre syndrome.
Emilios?
I agree, but this specific lesion to me looks like a squamous cell carcinoma. But yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting case. This one was a case that also had pathology confirmation, and it was an SSC. So yeah, of course, the first thing that pops to mind is a sebaceous origin when we see a tumor growing. However, the dermoscopy here, I think, is way too indicative for a well-differentiated SSC keratoconthoma type squamous cell carcinoma. Second lesion, which
we know what it is. We know what it is.
Yes, we think so, at least.
So the patient has a congenital nevus that has always been light brown, as you can see in the periphery, and uniform. But since being traumatized during sports, has developed this appearance.
Yeah.
And so congenital nevus, this appearance on the periphery. Sebi, would you like to put the poll on? What do people think it is? First of all, would you biopsy? Yes or no?
No.
No. Emilios?
From what I feel now and I see now, no.
Nisa, would you biopsy?
No.
No.
Nobody biopsies.
Nobody biopsies. Well, thankfully, this lesion was biopsied, so we know the actual answer, that it was indeed a nevus, so a pseudomelanoma. However, yes, and actually the distribution was very similar. 61% thought that this was a nevus, traumatized nevus, and 30% approximately thought that it was a melanoma. This was also the case for the dermoscopy group.
But
So
this is the typical pattern of recurrent nevi.
Yeah.
Recurrent nevi.
Yeah.
Very difficult. And last case, on this one, I don't have histopathological confirmation, but I just because I think it's really beautiful, and I want us to discuss what it is. So this is the clinical appearance of this lesion coming from Brazil, 80-year-old female, detected on skin check. Patient refers the lesion has been there since few years. And this is the polarized dermoscopy. You can see the beautiful shiny white lines, right? Orthogonal. And this is the non-polarized. So non-polarized and polarized. Let's see what people think.
Yeah.
Is this melanoma, Nisa?
That's keratotic things made me consider it's a traumatized something. Maybe those white lines can be fibrosis. That's why we observe, but absolutely, I would like to make a biopsy, but I think it's not very typical for melanoma. Yeah, maybe a traumatized sepke or something like that, but it's worth to make a biopsy here due to that white lines and pink structureless areas and ulcer, hemorrhage.
I totally agree. Let's see what people think it is. So 12% believe this is a melanoma, I guess because of the shiny white lines. 22% believe it's a basal cell carcinoma, and 27% believe it's an SCC. And another 12% believe solar lentigo, 16% dermatofibroma. I think these are all very reasonable thoughts.
I would go with this 16% of dermatofibroma for some reason.
Yeah.
So I think dermatofibroma is a very good option. The only thing that kind of makes me doubt it, it's, do you see the vessels here on the periphery? They're kind of coiled, kind of. I went for SCC, to be honest.
What's that, Jeppy? Don't tell me that you have a dog.
No, this is Jada's dog.
Okay. Beautiful dog. What's the name?
Who is the winner? Squamous cell in
Squamous cell is the winner. And I think because of the keratosis of the coil
Yeah,
vessels.
but you can see here, this is a beautiful example when you have these kind of percentages, nothing reaching the absolute majority. It means that nobody knows what it is.
No, but it means that we need to take a biopsy.
Yes, yes.
Question: Has anyone ever seen a dermatofibroma on the face? I have never seen one in this.
I have never seen.
Never.
Is there any data to show laser is safe in NEVI? No, there is no data to show that laser is safe, but there is also no data to show the opposite. So there is no data in general.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So Carlos Artur Figueiredo Ataide is the person that had this case. And he says that the partial result from the biopsy is seborrheic keratosis.
This last one,
yeah.
nice.
No, I got it.
Fibrotic
Yeah,
seborrheic keratosis. Wonderful.
I said it's okay.
Do we need to take biopsy in vulva? Vulva is a topic that now, so you gave us an idea for an episode.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Wonderful, wonderful. Very good.
Bene. Grazie.
What's next? No. Next is me. Wait a moment. I have to show you something. I want to show you something.
I have a dog biting my arm.
What's his name?
Rudy.
So I want to show you for very few seconds this wonderful armamentarium that CAFIL provides to us. And today I would like to say just a few words about one of these devices, which is the first one, the magnifier, the Optima magnifier, which is not a simple magnifier, but it offers the possibility of non-polarized light, which is characterized by bright color, fidelity, and homogeneity, and also polarized light that reduces reflections and put skin irregularities in the background for better evaluation of colors and contours. Then we also have directed light, either from the left or from the right side, which is particularly helpful in nodular lesions, and of course the ultraviolet or Woods light for superficial pigment and skin autofluorescence can be easily visualized. So this is a wonderful equipment, and I have to tell you that I use it since a few weeks in my practice, and I really love it. So that was it. And now, Sebastiano, it's time for... Not yet, but you were right, because we don't have a logo for this, for the next thing that we have to show.
We need to create one.
It's nice because you wanted to.
I want to create a special sigla for Penelope.
Yes.
It's Penelope's time. So, guys, do you want to try? Do you really want to try?
Wow, this is completely almost impossible. Let's say so.
Okay, if you find 2 out of 6, you win.
Okay, so the green one is just an infection by Pseudomonas.
Yeah, green nail. Yeah.
Okay. The number 6 is squamous cell carcinoma.
Okay. But
number
you
5
could also find, in my view, 1 and 2. Think about it. Come on.
Aspetta. Number 5 is onychopapilloma.
Onychopapilloma, yes.
Number 4 is also madeable by onychomatricoma.
Onychomatricoma, yeah.
Yeah. Then number 2 is glomus.
Bravo.
Number 1,
You got
no idea. Bowen.
So psoriasis number 1, glomus tumor number 2, green nail number 3, onychomatricoma and onychopapilloma, and the last one was lichen striatus.
Wow.
Beautiful.
That can involve the nail and also the bone sometimes. Wonderful. And a special gift for all four of us in appreciation of our teaching every Sunday evening. Penelope, you know how much we love you? No, you don't know. Very much.
Thank you so much.
Very much. Very much.
Please.
Send us your cases, guys. And as we said, we will do a special episode with your cases. So please send us your interesting and didactic cases in the email address that you see now in front of your screens. And now it's time to go. It's time to go to sleep. No.
It's time for.
It's time for Kahoot.
Yes.
It's time for Kahoot.
Sebi is offended. You know, he's not playing anymore the sigla.
Is it visible?
056.
Or you can scan the QR code with your camera if you want.
Yeah.
So as usually, don't worry at all. If you receive a message that the connection is not working and so on, everything will work as soon as we start the Kahoot. So just connect, just select your nickname, and everything is going to work. Trust us, trust us. Trust us. You will see that you will not be 16, but hundreds as soon as we start.
Yeah.
So in my view, we do not need more than 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0.
Let's go.
Boom. So episode 6, 3, 2, 1. Once again, devoted to our friends and all the people in Turkey, tonight's episode and also tonight's Kahoot. And we start. Case number 1, clinical.
Okay.
Dermoscopy. Do you like it?
Yes, very much.
Do you see something predominating? I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Diagnosis. Do you think that this is an actinic keratosis, a lichen planus-like keratosis, a discoid lupus, or a seborrheic dermatitis?
Very interesting. Clinically, I would have said, come on, why you come?
But dermatoscopically, it is, of course, a discoid lupus erythematosus with the prominent follicular plugging. Very nice case, because clinically it didn't look like, I think so.
Yeah.
And we have Ella Soleil in the first place, Bali and Oana in the second and third. Case number 2, 2 lesions, both of them on the forehead.
Mm-hmm.
The one forehead is full of wrinkles, the other one is not, but it doesn't matter. Now, dermoscopy shows what you see here.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is the following. Both of them are BCCs. Which one is micronodular? So high-risk subtype. 1 or 2, none or both? Interesting.
Hey.
Feasible.
Close.
No, it's not easy. It's not an easy one.
It's not
Yes, but 106 people found the correct answer.
Yes.
Number 2 was micronodular. Look how less prominent are the vascular structures. They are much smaller. And also the presence of these white areas, a little bit shiny areas. Both of these features are suggestive of high-risk subtypes. And in this case, this was a micronodular on the right-hand side and the nodular BCC on the left-hand side. Wonderful. Very good.
Excellent.
Ella Soleil remains in the first place and Bali in the second. And this brings us...
Maybe we can clarify that micronodular is worse than nodular, you know, because
Yes, of course,
you know, micronodular
But
means
now I already went to the
yes.
question with no points that
Ah.
says, where does Assyrtiko wine come from?
I know it.
Greece, Italy, France, or Spain?
Oh,
Hey, come on.
Wow.
This
Wow.
time I got it also for the first time.
Very good, very good. Unfortunately, no points for this one, which brings us to the question number 3, which I like so much, guys. So
yes.
look at it. There is no dermoscopy in this case. There is just a very simple question. According to what you see now in front of your screens, do you think that this is benign or malignant?
Come on. There are 2 options: benign or malignant.
I mean,
It's a benign option.
I wanted to share it.
Yes.
Yes. And then
Of course, biopsied. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's benign. And what it is, do you know what it is? You know.
Yes.
Say.
It's a pustulosis erosiva.
Erosive pustular dermatosis of the scalp. This impressive entity, by the way, this is just 1 week after biopsy with a little bit of antibiotic creams, so still not treated with steroids as it's going to be treated now. This is an impressive entity in my view, and we see it more and more frequently now that we are able to recognize it. But this is a quite advanced, version. And slowly we learn to recognize it, erosive pustular dermatosis of the scalp. Wonderful. Question number 4.
Carrying alopecia.
Come on. Dermoscopy. And now let's move to the options. Most likely diagnosis: androgenetic alopecia, lichen planopilaris, discoid lupus erythematosus, or folliculitis decalvans.
You know that I learned recently that sometimes the 2 morphologies of lichen planopilaris and folliculitis decalvans can live together.
Yeah. And the majority got the correct answer, folliculitis decalvans. What helps us a lot for this diagnosis in this particular image is, of course, the presence of pus. Yeah, the presence of pus is...
But there is, you see that there is also the keratotic colorate around the follicles.
Yeah, of course.
It means that there are 2 morphologies living together.
Yeah. But no, in folliculitis decalvans, there is also perifollicular hyperkeratosis. It's not rare. Theoretically, the perfect pattern would be if we see pus and also tufted. I mean, these follicles with many hairs from each follicle, the tufted hairs.
They're there, by the way.
They're there, but not so prominent as in some other cases. But the pus is very helpful, of course. Very nice. Which keeps Bali in the first place, and Doc Hock follows, and Dr. Saha also follows. Now, the second question without points of the day is the following. Who said this?
Zepi.
Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Leo Tolstoy, Leo Messi, Leo DiCaprio, or Geppi?
or Leo
Geppi.
Leo
Geppi.
Geppi, you got more votes than Leo Messi and Leo DiCaprio. How do you feel about that?
Oh my God, I'm so proud. But look, we have a very, I have to admit, I had no idea that Tolstoy said this. So I congratulate with more than 100 people
Yes, but I mean, it was more likely to have been said by Tolstoy than by Leo Messi.
Then by Leo Messi.
Which brings us to the last question, which is one of these new types of questions that I like. Of course, it's extremely difficult, but it's fun in my view. So, this is a melanoma. Come on.
Yeah.
This is a melanoma.
We agree.
Clinical and dermoscopy.
Yeah.
And now, look at it carefully. Look at the structures that you see carefully.
What's the Breslow depth?
What's the Breslow depth? Yes.
Chiaro.
Yes.
Chiaro.
You have to select by moving the ruler in your telephone, in your smartphone, the precise number, and then click submit. You have to click the submit button in order to have your answer submitted.
Okay, so let's guess among us. Yes. Costas.
Quickly.
1.4. 1.4.
1.1.
1.9.
And the winner is Costas, because he's the closer to the result, which was 1.3.
Wow, beautiful.
Wonderful. And let's see what happened. We have 4 people that selected 1.3 and also many others that got points because they were within the range of points, and the range of points was for all those that voted from 0.9 until 1.7. Of course, those that voted 1.3 got the maximum points. And by the way, the useful stuff in my view in this image was the presence of these white shiny lines that correspond probably to collagen alterations in the dermis, and they are very rare in melanomas in situ, very rare in thin melanomas. So they are somehow predictive of.
But if you remember, a couple of ages ago, we published a couple of articles in which we demonstrated that when we don't see network, we see first of all palpable lesion clinically, and then no network, and presence of blue color and or red color means that the lesion is definitely above 0.8.
The absence of network means that the junctional component is not so, is minimal. Yeah. Wonderful, very good. So now let's see what happens. Place number 3. Place number 3 goes to Lovr. Bravo, Lovr. Place number 2 to Dr. Saka, and the winner of the day is Bali.
Bravo.
Bali from Bali.
Bali was there from the beginning. He started in I think in place number 2, and he remained there until the very end. So many congratulations to Bali. If Bali is here, hey, it's me.
Corina Cuckoo.
Corina was the same person that commented before with about the case on Dermoscopy, or no? No,
I was not.
No. Hi, Corina.
Ciao, Corina.
Nice to see you all, and thank you for all that you are doing for the Dermoscopy.
Brava, Corina. Where you come from?
Bucharest, Romania.
Very nice, very nice.
I'm very happy every Sunday night when I'm joining the webinar, and you're very kind and nice. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Bravissima.
You're a specialist or a resident?
I'm almost a specialist, so I have a few more months and I finish the residency.
Enjoy these last few months. Enjoy.
I will. Thanks a lot.
Now that you will have your exams, you can say to your examiners that you are the winner of Kahoot in Dermoscopy Happy Hour, so you don't need any more exams. You're an expert.
Yeah, thanks a lot for everything.
Thank you.
Bene.
Bye.
Congratulations.
Ragazzi.
Good night.
So it was a very nice episode, a little bit sad, but as usually, we enjoyed a lot. Ragazzi, I will miss you for the rest of the week.
Zepi, we always miss you during the week.
Yeah, we always miss you. We love you.
This week, by
Okay.
the way, we will see us quite a lot, Joby, yeah?
Yes, yes, next week and then afterwards as well. Yeah. Va bene, ragazzi. See you next Sunday. Un bacione a
Sunday.
tutti.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Stay cool. Ciao, ciao.